Okay, everyone. Today we're going to take a look at the Turbografx 16. I'm sure most retro gamers know about the Turbografx 16 and its Japanese counterpart, the PC Engine. The PC Engine came out in October of 1987, and then we received it in North America in late August of 1989. The PC Engine was definitely quite a bit smaller than this, and is one of the smallest game systems in history. But of course, with the American mentality that it needs to be bigger, or something of that sort, they've pretty much got doubled in width. If I'm understanding that correctly, the PC Engine should just be about like this half of the system. The system here has one controller port, power switch, the card slot, RF and channel select, and there's your power input. There is supposed to be a little cover that goes over the back here, this to cover up the interface unit for the the CD unit. I did not get one, but that's no big deal to me. From what I've heard, the controllers, although they may look the same, at least in shape and button layout, as the Japanese PC Engine controllers, the plug was changed in America. The plug is bigger on American systems. I really like this controller. The D-pad, it may look small, but it's very comfortable to play on, very responsive. The run and select buttons are very very cushioned and very comfortable to use. And the 2 and the 1 buttons, just like your B and A, it's very much similar to an NES controller. I think there's one right here. So we can see that the NES controller is slightly smaller, not too much, but it has the harsher edges, whereas the edges on the Turbografx controller are rounded, and yeah, I think you can see that there's it's rounded around the edge there for enhanced grip. I would definitely prefer the Turbo Pad, as it's called, over the NES controller. Just because of the slightly larger size and the rounded corners. Also, the D-pad, even though it's small, is more like a Genesis D-pad because it's got the up, down, left, right, but it's also sitting in a circle, so you have the 8 directions. Let's see here. When I got this system, it was down to either this or an Xbox 360 for Christmas, because I was interested in the shoot 'em ups that both this and the Xbox offered. But this was more affordable, and even with the extra accessory here, this was more affordable, and it opened me up to more games than I would with an Xbox. And this is the second part of this video. besides just the system. We have here the Turbo Everdrive from Stone Age Gamer. Obviously, I got the board-only version. That's because of two reasons. One, I'm cheap, and two, and I'm impatient. It was cheaper to get the board-only version, I believe by half the price, and also I'd be able to get it right away. Excuse me. As opposed to waiting for the casing to be made around the board and the box and all that crap. I believe their website said that it would be somewhere around until the end of February, and that wasn't going to fly with me. So the board's fine with me. I don't need to have the all the fancy doodads and such, because when I'm storing it, I got a little HuCard sleeve here with the Turbo Everdrive sticker on it, so I can store it safely. I found out that this system is quite good for shoot 'em ups, and has quite an extensive library. Of course, most of them were only in Japan, because as usual with systems like this, they do better in Japan. There's more third-party support in Japan. Nintendo had the contracts with all the third-party developers. It's the same reason the Sega Master System didn't do so well over here, is because Nintendo legally had the support of all the other companies and would not let go of that grip. Not until years later. So, obviously there were more games from Capcom and Konami and such in Japan. All the games you saw over here, to my knowledge, most of them said by Hudson Soft, because if I remember reading this right, if they wanted to release a game for this in America, Hudson had to acquire the rights and do it themselves. And then it just also didn't gain the popularity as a Nintendo did, or even the Sega Genesis did, since this came out shortly after the Genesis did over here. I, for one thing, it's a fantastic system. There is some debate as to whether it's fully a 16-bit console, because it has an 8-bit CPU and the graphics processor are the 16-bit ones. I would side with the 16-bit because I believe the music, in most cases, I find it better than Genesis music, and it may not be as dynamic as Super Nintendo music would be, but I think it's definitely steps above NES and Genesis music, and the graphics. I love the depth and the colors and how vibrant the colors of the graphics are on these games. So I'd looked at the system for a number of years, but I think now is a good time to get one for me. Seeing my interest in the shoot 'em ups now, and there's quite a few great games on here. And even though both American and Japanese games look like this, they're all this exact same size, and they will fit interchangeably in the systems. They are not interchangeable. Um, these are region locked systems, and since the adapters to play the Japanese games on American systems are rare and expensive, from what I've seen, I believe I only saw one on eBay, and it was pretty sure it was well over $100. This seemed like the most logical option was to get the Turbo Everdrive, because I can load it with um, all these Japanese games that I can't get over here, and I don't have to, uh, you know, break the bank trying to get a game that I can't even play on this system, or even fork over the shipping to Japan for a PC Engine or one of those variations to play those Japanese imports. The Turbo Everdrive, they put an onboard reset button. It's this little white button right there, right next to the micro SD card slot. Since unlike the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, the Turbografx 16 does not have a reset switch. There's also this little white switch up in this corner right there under my thumb. Um, it's labeled, one end is labeled PCE and the other end is labeled TG16. So this board itself is interchangeable between PC Engines and Turbografx 16 consoles. You just have to flip that switch and it can read whether you're in America or Japan. So they did work around that. Uh, Pretty ingenious thinking, I believe. Alright, I want to show you some gameplay. I'll do some more in-depth game reviews, or maybe not reviews, but just checking them out a little later. Um, but yeah, we'll take a look at a couple things. There we go. Probably help if we get the TV on. Right, and there we go. It has a menu with all the folders here. I've numbered through Z. Left and right scrolls through the pages. Uh, Pressing the 2 button will select the page. 1 will back out of the page. When you're in a page, the run button will start the game up for you. A couple of my favorites on here have been 1943 Kai. Let's see. Final Soldier. Raiden. Soldier Blade. Tatsujin is a really fun one too. I know I'm rambling here. So let's just show you a little 1943 Kai. I do have the Supergraphics ROMs on here, and this will support them, but obviously the board would have to be sitting in a Supergraphics to be able to play those ROMs. Because I think it would have been really cool if there was a way to play 1941 from the Supergraphics on here, but obviously it's not, because there's some slightly better hardware in the Supergraphics. So let's check out 1943 Kai for a minute here. Alright, see, it's loading. I love the music in this game. It's just so enjoyable to play. Um, Also, the Turbografx was, or in this case, the PC Engine was great at arcade conversions. Um, Typically, you'll hear that the uh, Super Graphics version of Ghouls and Ghosts or Daimakai Mora was a very faithful port of the arcade game. And I know that sometimes the music may sound a little 8-bitish, but um, I think it does sound better than NES and Genesis music. Alright, well, this video is getting pretty long here. So, we're nearing the end of the first stage here, so maybe I'll just finish the stage. And you can see the Turbo Everdrive plays these games fantastically. And it loads them up no problem. As what I've heard with the Everdrive products, they work like a charm. And there we go. Alright, so I'm going to end the video here. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I got some more system reviews and comparisons and game clips and such coming up, so there's some more video game stuff to look forward to. Thanks guys, take care.